Welcome back, everyone. I'm the Depressed Dior, and this is Langrisser Mobile Apex Season 10. Alright, I don't know how to pronounce that name. So our opponent here has 3 tanks, 2 healers, and a mixture of some AoE, some assassins, some long legs, and that's about it. It's kind of a mixed bag, which are generally the easiest for me to deal with. This week, Alicia, Silvaria, and Asara have come out. My Asara is only 4 stars, and she would probably be, if she was going to fit in any box, it would probably be the AoE box, because she becomes a kind of a tanky AoE type that can also heal. Silvaria is all single target. She does have a global buff that can either do attack, defense, or crit. That works for all factions and is infinite range. The only catch is it's only 2 duration and it doesn't have any of the standard immunities that most 2 duration buffs have. And then Alicia is mostly single target. She does have an AoE grenade, but it's a very small cross shape, and it's more designed to help the single target people by pushing people away from tanks. Personally, I don't really care much for the grenade because the amount of push is random between 1 or 2, and depending on how condensed the formation is, if it just pushes 1, it will literally not help. But for the most part, I'm probably not going to be messing around with any of them until I actually get them up to 5 or 6 stars at least. So my Silvaria is 5 stars now. My Alicia is still 3 stars. I have yet to get another one. And then Isara right now is 4 stars. And once I get her, once I get all the shards for the event, I'm going to use the generic SR shards to max her out. Anyway, besides that, there's not really anything to update on the box itself. I've been more focused on the Valkyria Chronicle characters and trying to get them up to date. Trying to get 3 characters up to date at once is very, very expensive and time-consuming, unfortunately. Anyway, besides all that, let's dive right in. So I'm second player, which seems to be common. I think I'm always second player at this rate. Wehan went straight for Wet Ham. The only time I would consider not going for Wet Ham first is if I was first player and they hadn't banned my Rosen Seal yet, in which case I would just grab Rosen Seal and then let them have Wet Ham. But since I'm second player, I can't risk not banning him and then them turning around and banning Rosen Seal and just grabbing Wet Ham. They banned my Akaya. I don't think I've yet to use Akaya in a single match, mainly because she gets banned pretty early. They grab Bozel. At this point, I got rid of Rosen Seal and Juggler, because AoE Juggler tends to counter it a little bit. Grab my Rosen Seal. They start going for my long legs and long range. Grabs. So they had 3 tanks at this point. Or sorry, they have 3 tanks, and then they have a physical tank, which is Bernhardt if you need it. I had banned the Juggler, so they had 2 tanks left, 2 primary tanks left. So if they wanted one of those, they would have to pick one. They ended up picking SP Freya, which was perfect for me. Her self-resing capability is only with Redeemers, and Redeemers don't self-res if you get a debuff on her. And since I already took out the Rosen Seal, their only healer is Sophia. So they don't really have a way of preventing debuffs from happening. So I went and got rid of Bernhardt because he's really tanky and annoying, and his AoE just murders me. And then I also got rid of Kruger because his stupid long-range debuff nonsense is just something I did not want to deal with. Bozo's going to be a handful alone because his AoE is literally going to do 5 debuffs on me. So I was a little bit torn on what to grab. I was like, do I really just grab Luna again? Because that's kind of what I did in the last match. And so I was like, yeah, I mean, it'll get me the additional mobility. And yeah, I can literally just kind of flex off of that. They get rid of Gustav, of all people, and got rid of my 1 tank. They grabbed Charlinka. It's been a while since we've seen Charlinka. Since I'm not really a tank formation, Charlinka is not that dangerous for me. I went ahead and banned their long legs and got rid of their long range long legs in the form of, is that Epsilon? Yeah, Epsilon. I don't remember if Epsilon's Dark Faction, but I didn't want to risk him being just buffed by Bozel, or buffing himself, or being buffed by Zerida. At this point, I grabbed Angelina, which obviously she doesn't get the benefit of the mobility buff from Luna, not without taking some sort of ground troops. But at this point, the formation's looking very... something I could just kind of take advantage of with the the AoE she has. Also, I have Princess faction buff, which is always helpful. They went ahead and banned Helena. At this point, I would not have grabbed Helena anyway, unless maybe for a last pick. Freya's probably the least dangerous against Helena. Yeah, for the most part. But once they grabbed a tank, I wasn't really considering Helena. At this point, I was considering banning their other healer and leaving with no healers, but I wanted them to go ahead and grab a healer just so I can get rid of more threats. Obviously, you can see Kruger there, which this one is Demon. So he would not have actually been that dangerous, because I have plenty of AoE, I have a lot of Holy to play around with. So at this point, I went ahead and got rid of Kruger, got rid of, what was it, Prince of the Red Sun, or whatever his name is. Grab Lana at this point, SP Lana. They went ahead and banned more my AoEs. They grabbed Zerda, so just a single tank, single healer setup. And at this point, I have the choice between Iron Chancellor or Varna. Varna would help with additional AoE and buff AoE damage. Iron Chancellor would give more mobility for Lana, which is probably a little redundant, but also having another character that can actually do decent single target would probably be helpful if I need to ever kill anything here. Sherlinka is the only one that can self-res without any additional requirements, but it does knock her out for one turn. So go ahead and grab Iron Chancellor. Okay, I believe all of their units are 6 stars. This is Sherlinka is using Cyborg Vessels. Broken Dream, Bloody Grip, Fleeting Flash, a pretty standard kit here. Yeah, and she's gone infantry. Sophia here, Shrine Maidens, does not have plus skill, so unless she has the meditation ring, she doesn't have immunity to fixed damage. She does have access to Rewind, Heal, and her 3C. Bozel went faction buff with 3C and Seal, so essentially if he has, with his armor, his talent, Descent of Chaos, and Seal, that's 5 debuffs. Went Sorceress is for the troops, which is not really that necessary. Zerda did not bring a faction buff because she can be buffed by Bozel. Brought Shadow Raid with Backstab and Heart of Alice, her 3C essentially, and went Hellfire Archers. Freya went 3C, Crystal Spike, and Rose Lash. I guess she just wanted the extra AoE fixed damage, maybe. And then she went Redeemers. Lana standard kit for SP Lana, so Elemental Echo with her 2 AoEs, Black Hole and Heaven Sanction, went Redeemers, so she can get additional range and span, and a self-res. Rose and Seal, I didn't need the I was torn between bringing the faction buff. I decided I didn't really need it just because the only person that would really benefit from the faction buff is Iron Blood. So, and Iron Blood can just bring her mass attack, so I just did that instead. So Rose and Seal just went all heals, no 3C. Luna went standard kit for Archer Luna, essentially, so Wind God, Move Again, Queen, her faction buff. Angelina, I went 3C, Tidal Surge, and Ram, Griffin Knights. And then Iron Blood, as mentioned, I went Mass Attack, 3C, her extra movement, 1 cost, and then Sandsea Mercenaries. Alright, so really the key thing is how my opponent sets up, how far they push forward. If they push forward enough, I can take advantage of it with Angelina. Otherwise, I'm going to be able to essentially increase Lana's range by additional 4, essentially, which would put her 1, 2, 3, 4 to there, and then she could literally either do her Black Hole to there and hit everybody, or do Heaven Sanction, which would go there, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and still hit everybody. So unless they back away, I could potentially just run in and do an AoE. But I'm not going to AoE until I see when Sophia acts. Worst case scenario is Sophia acts last, in which case I have to save Lana to the very end. But I would still be able to throw out a bunch of debuffs. So right off the bat, my opponent did push forward with 3C. So at this point I was like, okay. Luna is just short of being hit by Bozel's 3C. There are no act agains. Bozel doesn't have boots. He's just gonna stay in guard range, and faction buff, it looks like. Gets a breeze, but it doesn't really matter. At this point, I went and got Iron Chancellor, or Iron Commander set up. So, mass attack, heavy strike formation, So right off the bat, that's her range now. So yeah, she can hit anything she wants at this point. Moves up. So at this point, I can now do 3C with Angelina and get an act again. Just flat out. I was not expecting my opponent to push forward that much and set up their 3C. They did get a breeze proc, but it doesn't really matter. I literally can go to here, and then tidal surge to there, and then 3C these 3 targets, and then immediately get an act again. At this point, pushing them back would actually just push everyone within guard range, so I'm kind of just waiting to see what my opponent's going to do. So at this point I was like, alright, get Miracle up, because I'm probably going to AoE and get the extra damage from it. So I do have some crystal barriers up, but it's actually not enough to fully stop Bozil right now, which is pretty crazy. Actually, it's possible, I think, if Seal doesn't proc, it's possible that the ones that have 4 stacks can possibly block it all, but that's about it. In any case, Bozil got Breeze. Oh, 10U proc on Freya, it's not a big deal. And Sophia, of course, gave everyone a passive buff thanks to the armor. Shalinka does not have access to a faction buff, so she is purely relying on the buff from Sophia here. Alright, so at this point, I'm pretty safe to go ahead and rush in and do whatever I want. But I think, yeah, at this point I can just do whatever I want. Shalinka can't actually get in strike range. She's going to have to usually set up with the teleport. So with that in mind, I literally just run in, do Black Hole, and we'll see what debuffs got thrown around. So yeah, it nearly kills Shalinka, nearly kills Zerida. I also do additional fixed damage. None of them are immune to fixed damage here. So yeah, I debuff attack and no passive skills. Debuff defense, no buffs. Reduce damage, not a big deal. Bozil can't use passive skills, so that's actually important. That means they can't trigger Seal. Additional damage taken. Got a fixed damage dot here. Damage taken. And then nothing from Zerida, because Zerida is actually immune to all debuffs. Alright, but as you can see, yeah, 1500. Pretty beat up. The only people that didn't take too much damage was Freya and Bozil. That's because they have decent magic defense. Yeah, even Sophia didn't do too well. So at this point, Fleeting Flash. But I was kind of fine with just ignoring her at this point. So I move in. Breath of the Tides. Not quite enough to kill Zerida, unfortunately. Yeah, and the fixed damage from Princess can't kill because it's always based off current HP. So I went ahead and just finished off Sophia. Hey, she's got the Halloween costume. That's cool. So this is when I found out their Shalinka actually has the what is it called? Mimir's Hammer? I don't remember what it's called. But essentially, anytime a unit dies, she gets healed, removes 1 debuff. So she actually got her attack debuff removed, and she gets plus hero damage. But I was completely fine with that. Everyone else is kind of out of range. The only targets Bozil now has is just Angelina and Lana. Bloody Grip. So she does her 3C, and I actually kill with the counter attack. We both crit each other. So she'll self-res and go to sleep for a bit. And then Bloody Grip will bring her back to full. But she's pretty much not a danger anymore. I think it's proportional to health, is it? It is not for Lana. So the only thing that matters to Lana is the number of buffs she has. And she has more than enough buffs to get the plus 35% damage. And she still, of course, has her damage dealt from the Miracle. So at this point, I'm like, alright, well, move in, Heaven Sanction, kills Zerida, nearly kills Freya. Obviously, I'm still healing Shalinka here, but Shalinka's asleep, so it doesn't really matter. And she's already acted anyway. Freya is at 8% health, Bozil's at, 15%. Needless to say, there's not much left here. I don't think I got any other debuffs from her accessory there. So at this point, Bozil moves in, Descent of Chaos. So yeah, I ended up getting 3 debuffs. So that was a total of 6 debuffs. 3 of them got soaked by the crystals, and then, oh sorry, it was 5 debuffs. 3 got soaked by crystals, and then I got all the nasty attack and magic defense debuffs. And then for Lana, it looks like she only got 4 debuffs, and so 3 got soaked, and she now can't heal. But at this point, I went and moved in, kill Freya with just the fixed damage, and at this point, my opponent gave up. So yeah, pretty straightforward. 145,000 damage. So yeah, really straightforward. Couldn't have been a cleaner match. So not much else to say about it. I definitely like how the ban pick flowed. It's kind of surprising how useful Luna is, even when I mean, at this point, Archer Luna never really gets kills, and even if you go Flyer, she's generally not that great anymore. She used to be pretty annoying because you usually go Curse Spear if you go Flyer, and then you just, hit them with like silence and heal negation on the tank, and then they just cry. But at this point, I'm pretty much 1 win away from Gold 3, but I'm probably just gonna wait till next week to try that. I'm not in any particular rush for it. So I think that's about it for me. Sorry if it's a little short, but I wanted to go ahead and make this quick and easy. I've been rather busy this week, so having a quick and easy match was really refreshing. I will see about altering the box once I feel comfortable with Sylvaria at least, at which point I'll be switching back to a single target assassin type thing. Sylvaria is a really neat kit. I've been using her in time rifts. It's really fun using her 9 range stuff. Even when you don't get the 9 range benefit, she does okay enough damage in PvE to take things out. So I'm definitely curious to see how well she'll do in PvP once I get set up. But in general, if you are going to use Sylvaria, you probably want to team her up with a healer that can do an act again, or anyone that can do an act again, rather, because she kind of needs it for the setup. Anyway, that's pretty much it for me. So I am the Depressed Hero. This is Langrisser Mobile Apex Season 10. I'll see you guys later.